Hello, everybody. Today I am here to finally finish the fairest of them all, Snow White event. I am still a bit sick, as you can probably hear, but this will probably be the last video where you'll really be able to notice that I'm sick. I haven't really recorded any because of that, and I'm pretty much getting over it at this point. So I'll get back into recording my voice and stuff, and it'll sound a lot more normal. But I did really want to just get this out of the way because I am so sick of all the dwarves. It's the largest team ever, with 8 characters, and 7 of them who are almost identical other than a few of the different stats and boosts that they give. But the majority of this will just be me talking about my experience with leveling up the characters and getting this team ready to go. I tried looking up just like a list of what every character does because, you know, at the ends of these journeys where I have the full teams, I usually say I learned a lot from having to do these battles, from what character does what and what I should be doing with each of them. I cannot say that for this team. I really don't know what the best thing to do for them, for anything. I know a few of the ones that I like, and I know a few of the things that I dislike, but I don't know where they should be placed. I don't know how any of that should be done. Plus, in this event, it's kind of hard because it forces you to bring in a specific 5 characters and place them in the 5 spots as they normally would, and then everybody else just goes in the back anyways, including Snow White. Even though I think she probably is best in the back, but I don't know about that either. Maybe she would be the person you want in the front. I don't know. I know there's some people in the comments here who are very helpful with this stuff. I'd be very, very curious to hear how to play this team, since I have 5 of them at gear tier 8 now, and the rest of them at gear tier 7, including Snow White, all at 7 stars, of course. That was what was required to get this team done, and thankfully I didn't have to get any of the other dwarves to gear tier 8. I was a little worried about that, but you know, they certainly can be strong when they need to be, which is, you know, is good, because like I said, I have them leveled up at this point. But I think the main problem with that is that if you're going to bring a couple of them in, they're just not going to be as strong than if you were going to bring in all of them, which you can't even do anyways. You have to choose between 5 of them. So that really the only chance you ever get to see them in their strongest and best form is during this event, where they actually do go up against a pretty formidable group of enemies here. All these strong female villains. And of course the minions that they have with them, which are just so unbelievably annoying. I hate Flotsam and Jetsam. Like, they're really not that big of a deal, but they're just an extra layer of annoyance. Like, Yzma I don't care about, but Ursula and Maleficent end up doing so much damage to you. And then the Evil Queen also isn't that big of a deal, but she brings in her minions at one point, and they just like instantly kill your characters. It's like, well, that's cool. I guess I'll just restart. I didn't get 3 stars on either of these last 2 fights, but I do not care. I also realized showing these 2 fights is probably a little boring, but I don't know. I felt like I've pretty much shown my whole journey through this event so far, so I might as well include both of them. I don't know if we'll end up talking for the whole length either. I also ended up recording the 2 of the Prestige, is that what it's called? 2 of those at the end, because people always request to see those. And I typically don't show it just because I don't find it to be that interesting, but I do bring in Snow White and just the 4 other characters that it assigns me, and put it on auto and just let it play as I did other stuff. But I added that in at the end, and I probably won't talk through that. But yeah, it's my strategy in this fight at first and through pretty much every iteration before the final one was to go for Maleficent first, just get her done with, because I felt like she was doing a ton of damage, and if I was able to kill her early, that I would get a lot less damage dealt to me. But also that means that all 3 of the other characters, including, I guess not including, in addition to Flotsam and Jetsam, will also still be alive and will also still be attacking you during that time. and if you aren't killing any of them at all, then you're going to be dealt a ton of damage. They're going to be constantly attacking you, stealing your buffs, and just getting in your way generally. So in the final fight, after trying to kill Maleficent first, I realized that probably isn't the best move, and started going for the Evil Queen first, because I really didn't want her to spawn in her minions, and then also take out Ursula, who seems like probably the most highest damage dealer. If you can charm Ursula with Snow White as well, by the way, that ends up being a lot of help. She does a ton of damage to her fellow allies, so that's great. And it looks like we're almost done with this fight here, so that's good. I'm also going to make sure to talk about each of the characters as best I can, but like I said, I really don't know each of them all that great, but I'll try to do what I can. So yeah, as you'll see once we finish this fight, I end up going for the other characters first, and then pretty much finishing with Maleficent. Although I think I get her before like Yzma or one of the eels or something. I can't remember, but you'll see it obviously. And I think that's probably what I should have been doing for the rest of the fight, because like I said, those characters are just doing so much damage to you. They're really just taking up more time than they need to. If you can get them out of the way first, Maleficent ends up being a lot easier, since she's really the only one that can attack you. And for the most part, she really doesn't do a whole lot. She does have a few really big hits, which is the issue. And obviously when you get her down to her last health, she comes back in her dragon form and does a ton of damage, usually taking out a character or two. Which is the best time to have her take out Snow White, I guess. But also, it's nice when that happens to have your allies be able to counter, because they all assist when that happens, it seems like. Or at least when she comes back to life. I've never really been sure how that works, because sometimes it didn't, sometimes it did. Anyways, I don't know, so. But when you attack her after she just came back, she's invincible, and she can't get hit by any of your attacks, so that really sucks. But any other time, your dwarves do a bunch of damage to all the enemies. But as I was kind of just saying, I really don't know what a lot of the characters do, and it almost seems random sometimes, which, like, obviously that's not the case, but it's weird that it feels that way. And I've tried many times to read through each of their things to understand it, and sometimes I thought that I did, but also it's been a long time between the last time I really took the time to read those things that I don't particularly remember. So for the most part, I just check on what their second skill is, like what status buff I'm going to get from it. And then I usually just end up giving it to Grumpy anyway, is what you can see. Because Grumpy ended up being my favorite, and do you know why? Because he just does a ton of damage. And that's all he does. And that's great. And this one, doing a ton of damage and just getting rid of characters as fast as possible, is all I really wanted to do. One of them gives defense, one of them gives evasion. I think that might be Sleepy. I think the one that gives defense is Happy. Doc actually has a third one that grants the one with like the brain. I forget what it's called now. But he has a third one, then he has a second one as well, and I forget what the second one even does. I'd hardly ever do it. You can see Snow White just got knocked out there, which happens when she gets completely killed. She has that blue icon that means that she's going to go into the state, and when she comes back alive, she's going to be a lot more of an asset for your team. She'll actually have turns, which I don't know why she really doesn't beforehand. Like, I don't know if she gets like a major speed boost after she comes back. I'm really not sure. But I know in the past that she was able to be revived again if she was killed. But I didn't get that to happen this time, and I forget what allows that to even happen. But yeah, I wasn't able to have that trigger here. But yeah, Snow White has a bunch of skills all on her own. One of which she brings in 3 birds who do a pretty good amount of damage, honestly. Like, it's not a whole lot, but they do it pretty often, so it ends up making up for that. Here, she allows every character to assist, well, every minor character. So again, if you had her on a team with a bunch of other characters, I don't think that would be all that helpful. Unless I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's just the minors. I was mentioning earlier that Ursula's pretty helpful when she's charmed, as you could just see there. Right now I start doing a bunch of damage to Maleficent, since most of the characters are about dead. But I'll go back for Ursula once she's not charmed anymore, because I want to make sure to get the most out of that as I can. You can see when Sleepy already died, so that sucks. But he's the only one that ends up dying, which is really nice. But it's just unfortunate that they didn't kill one of the ones that like didn't matter, so I could have got 3 stars. But I don't really care about 3 stars because I'm never going to be playing this ever again. Let's see, Dopey is probably the most annoying one. I get that he can be helpful because he ends up taking a bunch of the other characters' bad effects and even turning them good. But he attacks pretty much randomly sometimes. Like sometimes he does what you want and other times he doesn't. So it's almost better to aim for the character you don't want him to hit, just so that he will more likely hit the character that you're actually wanting to hit, if that makes sense. Which is really dumb. I get that he's dopey and he makes a bunch of mistakes. But in a game like this, that's really annoying. So yeah, I ended up aiming for Maleficent because I wanted him to attack Ursula. And it actually worked out there. But there's also a chance that he just ends up attacking Ursula, which is really annoying. Yeah, you can see he has a bunch of nice stuff on him, which really ends up working out well. And as for like the other characters like Bashful or Happy, I really don't care about them. They don't do a whole lot, and I can't imagine I'd ever want to bring them into anything. Plus, I only have like, I think those are the 2 that are only at 7 stars anyway, so I wouldn't even bring them in if it was an option. The ones that they have you get up to 8 is probably the best ones for you to have at 8, which I hope was the point. Like I said, I think Grumpy is my favorite, mostly just because he's the best attacker. Snow White definitely has some great moves. As you saw, she just did a bunch of damage there. I'm really surprised that no one died from that. We luckily had a good amount of health on us. And now we just have to take out these final 2. I probably should have just brought in the hammer so I could have revived anybody that died, but that's alright. And I really can't think of anything else that I like or even acknowledge that are happening from any of the characters here. Like generally, I can't think of anything. They kind of just do things and I accept it because there's so much to try to like memorize in your head about what every character is doing. Because there are so many characters. Like, it's enough when there's 5 characters on a team, but with 8, it's so hard to keep track of everything, especially when most of them look very similar, and their moves look very similar. And the only thing distinguishing like their moves from each other is by, you know, actually reading what they do, because otherwise there's no visual indication that it's any different, which is the most annoying part. And I wish that they would have made it just a little bit more obvious what each character did. So you didn't have to tap and hold on their second skill every single time you use it just to see what it does. Even just making a different emblem for each one would make it much easier to actually remember what each one did. That's what I think, at least. And here I'm going to upgrade my Snow White to 7 stars and completely run out of coins. I spent all my gems to get all my gear for the last character I needed at tier 8. Because I really just wanted to get this event done. And now I'm out of all my resources and it's time to stock up again. So next up is obviously the Alice in Wonderland team. Thankfully, I got rid of this one just in time for that one to start up. I'm sure I'll have to get them to 8, gear tier 8 as well, which is really annoying, but I've done it with every other named team so far, so I might as well continue. But I really don't know what else to say. Do any of you guys enjoy using this team? I mostly find it annoying just because of how tedious, how long the matches take. But ultimately, they have a good amount of health. They can do a pretty decent amount of damage, as you can see. Like, they put them up against a pretty tough team. And that's why it seems like it takes so long. But if they were against a normal team, they'd probably get through them pretty quickly. Because yeah, they can get a ton of damage out. Some of them do like 10,000 when they have some of their attack buffs. And like Grumpy does a pretty consistently large amount of damage, especially if he has those attack buffs, which he can give to himself pretty often. So there are a few characters I really like, and if I need wild characters, obviously I can bring them in. But again, when you're required to bring them in for like an event that has other wild characters required, then it's weird to just have a couple of the dwarves because they're just not going to be as good than if all of them were there. So they work alright as a big team. I find it hard to figure out which 5 I should bring in, but obviously it helps that some of them are forced to be at gear tier 8. I still have to choose to pick one to leave out. I don't know if Dopey would be the right one, because again, his skills can be useful, but he's just so annoying to bring in that he might be the one I want to leave out. Because obviously you're going to want to bring in Snow White as one of the characters. That's just a must. As is all the legendary characters. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I feel like I've repeated myself a lot too. So I'll just let these prestiges play out for those of you who care. I'm sure most of you don't, but if you're interested at all, you can watch these in full. And thanks for watching, I suppose. This has been a very, very long journey, like months and months. Since the doors were released, I've been working on leveling them up. And this is genuinely, I've worked on it every single day until just now, where I finally got it done. And I even used all of my gems just to get it done quicker. It would have taken way longer if I didn't. But I'm happy I'm done. I can just forget about them forever now. And move on to the Awesome Wonderland team, because it's never ending. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.